From a rookie calling the greatest basketball player of all time overrated, to a player getting kicked off the team for talking smack about Black Jesus, these NBA players paid the price for trash-talking Michael Jordan. While it is the most used tactic in the basketball game to mess with your opponent's head, when you're doing it to the player that changed the whole course of the game, you gotta be careful, and Jalen Rose learned this lesson the hard way. The rookie called the greatest basketball player of all time overrated. During one of the games, this guy started talking smack. He thought he was being gutsy, but to be honest, it was just plain stupid. I mean, Michael Jordan is a legend, and if you're wondering what he was thinking, well, he was never a fan of MJ. He admitted it during an interview with Vlad TV. According to Rose, growing up in Detroit, no one in the city liked MJ much. They supported Bad Boys, aka Detroit Pistons. So, back in the day when the team was on a roll, winning 2 championships back-to-back, it wasn't taken lightly when they were defeated by Michael's team, Chicago Bulls, in the Eastern Conference Finals in 1991. And what was worse was that the Pistons didn't take the defeat well either. The Bad Boys walked off the court without shaking hands with Michael and the rest of the Bulls players. Though Rose was never a part of the Pistons, he supported them in their move, while everyone in the public and media criticized them for not being professional. The player said in an interview with Jalen and Jacoby that they were true rivals, and everybody knew that, so making a big deal out of it and calling out Isaiah Thomas, the Pistons captain, a bad guy, was unwarranted. He admitted that he never wanted Michael to have any success in his career. Wow. He also mentioned that he rooted against the guy his entire career. When the legend came back after retirement and joined the Wizards, Rose had been drafted as an NBA player, and he finally had a chance at a showdown against MJ, and he took all his resentment to the court. At one of the games between the Wizards and the Bulls, he ended up hitting Jalen in the mouth with his elbow, and it was so hard he broke his tooth. According to the player, it was done on purpose, but MJ wasn't fouled for the move. And later, when the media asked him about it, he admitted that he did do it. To make matters worse, he even tried to defend himself, blaming the player for spewing hate and dirtying up the game. He said he found the behavior tactless, especially because there were a lot of young players who were learning from Rose, and that this wasn't the sort of example that should be set. It's hypocritical of MJ to have said that, since he was known for trash talking, but the player shouldn't have messed with him either. He admitted later that he had called Michael overrated on numerous occasions, and whenever they had come into contact, something had always gone wrong. Before the elbow incident, the two faced off in the Indiana Pacers versus Washington Wizards match, and it seemed like Jalen was having the game of his life. But it ended up being his worst as he got kicked out. He even recounted the whole story through an animated movie called Story Time with Jalen Rose, in which he took digs at the older player. Starting with 2 characters, he compared Michael with the one that played for the Bulls and the other one who played for the Wizards. The animated character version of MJ had a protruding belly and was sitting in a wheelchair, just to reinforce that Michael had gotten old and was done for. According to Jalen's side of the story, he realized while playing that his opponent wasn't all that he was made out to be, and that he could be easily defeated. Rose was at 30 points against the Wizards, and as soon as he made a slam dunk, it fueled his ego even more. And before he even left the rim of the basket, he had started spewing hate toward Jordan. The guy claims that what he said can't even be repeated on the air. It was that trashy. The word he used for it was volatile, and it wasn't taken lightly by those on the court either. He paid the price because he was immediately ejected, which meant he wasn't allowed to play the entire game. Looking back on it, the player regretted it, and things seem to have changed since then. He's even admitted now that Michael is the GOAT. Guess it's never too late to pick sides. The player made his stance clear in the infamous debate of who's the greatest, Jordan or James. He said that James hasn't even come close to the success Michael reached in his career, and pointed out that he's got 10 scoring titles, plus the title of Defensive Player of the Year, which LeBron has yet to win. To take it further, Jordan has 2 separate three-peats. I mean, just by looking at these facts, you can determine the greatness of one over the other. Well, I guess they left all the hate on the court when they decided to move on. Jalen isn't the first to have trash-talked the player, or the first to have regretted it. Michael had a knack for making his opponents eat their words. He's taken almost all his battles to the court to dominate. Something similar happened when NBA player Derek Martin decided to tell MJ that he was gonna whoop his ass. This entire thing started when he invited the player to a private practice game with other NBA players. During one of the plays, Martin broke through his defense and made the game-winning shot. Like all rookie players, he decided to use this moment of glory to bash Jordan. He told him that he's the fake MJ and the true one is his man, Magic Johnson. MJ decided to take the fight on the court when the Bulls were playing against Martin's team, Vancouver. Boy, they were killing it on the court. It seemed like the Bulls just weren't in shape for the game. The coach decided to take MJ out of the game, since it seemed they were gonna lose. And there was no point in the star playing the game. But then Martin decided to open his mouth while crossing the bench area, reminding MJ of what he had said before. About beating his ass, needless to say, Michael became livid and asked the coach to let him play. The man worked his magic and brought the team back to winning scores. They won the game by 94-88. That wasn't all. He also made sure to rub it in his rival's face. He found the player on the bench and told him to keep his mouth shut. Getting drafted isn't an easy task, so it seems all these newbies come into the league with big egos, and Reggie Miller was no different. He made the mistake of dissing Michael Jordan in his rookie year. During Jimmy Kimmel Live, the NBA player admitted that while playing an exhibition game, he got the chance to face off against Michael, who by then was a major player. Since it wasn't a serious game, the legend was just stuffing around, and Miller got ahead of him. He had Michael beaten by 10-4 points. One of his teammates decided to rile him up, telling him he was killing the king, encouraging him to trash talk his airness. Reggie, being naive, thought that MJ has nothing on him and started trash talking, saying, "Who do you think you are?" and that there's a new kid in town. Well, MJ didn't talk back. He decided to be a savage by beating him in the game. In the second half, Michael was in the lead by 44, while the player was left with a mere 12 points. Needless to say, the rookie learned his lesson, and when Michael walked off, he told the player to be mindful of what he was saying and to never talk to Black Jesus like that. The player steered clear of such situations and admitted he never even thought of trash-talking Jordan again. That was a good decision on his part because one player got kicked off the team for insulting Black Jesus. Richard Hamilton revealed in a podcast that Lauren Prophet once made the same mistake. He recounted that they were practicing and he beat MJ. In his celebration, he called the legendary player unfit, saying that he couldn't perform the role of a guard because of his old-ass knees. It angered MJ to the point that he no longer wanted Prophet to stay with the Wizards. And since he was also the president at the time, he told the player in an exit meeting that he was going to make him leave. The player ended up being swapped with Orlando Magic, and that was that. From one player getting kicked off the team for talking smack about Black Jesus to a rookie calling the greatest basketball player of all time overrated. That's all I've got on the NBA players that paid the price for trash-talking Michael Jordan.